Are you from Tennessee? 'Cause you're the only 10 I see.
And rainbows have nothing to hide.
Hello everyone, I'm Matt Haslam and welcome to Powered and Protected by Rainbows. And today on the show we are talking about some first date tips and tricks of things to do and things not to do on a first date because for a couple reasons. First off, I wanted to share some tips and tricks that I've learned over the time that I've been on so many first dates ever since I've come out. And secondly, last week on the show we talked about gay breakups. And I feel kind of this obligation to talk about how relationships should start and not just how they end. I don't know why I feel that, but I feel the need to talk about how they should start. So with all that being said, let's get started with these tips. And these tips are not just for gay people, they are for straight people as well, most of them. And they're all quite important, so I didn't put them in any certain order of the most important first or whatever. They're all just as important as the next, but there are a lot of them, so let's get started. Number one, meet somewhere in public and during daylight hours somewhere that you're familiar with. You have no idea how much that helps a situation and making yourself feel comfortable in this situation, if not just for you, but for the other person as well. It goes a long way to show that other person that you care about them and you want to put them in a position where they're comfortable in, where basically if you met this person online or on like a dating app or something like that, it's always advisable to meet somewhere public. That way, just in case that person isn't who they say they are, you can call for help. You have other people around. You're in an area that you're familiar with. You're during daylight hours, especially, just in case. You never know. Number two, never pick someone up at their house, etc. Back in the day, I know that's how it used to go, of the guy would pick up the girl at their house, they would meet the parents and stuff like that, and they would say, I'll have her back by 10, whatever. But in my opinion, that's not how it should go, and nowadays, that's not how it goes anymore. And that's very lucky in our eyes, because basically, this is for two reasons. The first of which is that it puts you both at this neutral zone, where you find out what town they live in and what town you live in, and you pick this neutral zone to basically have this common ground where just in case that date doesn't go extremely well and just in case you don't want to continue the relationship after that first date is over, you don't have their address and they don't have yours. And that is for the best. Just in case that person isn't who they say they are, you can get out of that situation and they don't know where you live to follow you. The second reason is basically, I don't know about how you guys feel about it, but at least in my eyes, I don't always want to be the person in a relationship to drive everywhere. And so finding out on the first date that the person I'm dating has a car, they have at least a means of transportation or something like that to get where they need to go, that really helps. And I want that. That's a check mark on my list of things that I want in a perfect boyfriend or something like that. So basically right up front, I'm saying, you need to meet me at this spot that's this neutral zone halfway between where we live. And now I know, hey, you have a car, you have a means of transportation to get where you need to go. And that way, someday down the road in our dating experiences, I don't always have to drive everywhere. Number three, get a shower right before. It doesn't matter if you worked the entire day before your first date or if you're just lounging around the house all day and doing nothing. It does not matter. Get a shower right before you leave your house for that first date. That way you look all shiny and clean and stuff like that. Number four, use deodorant and body spray right before your date. I've been on dates before that just they've not used deodorant or body spray in their entire life before, and it's very obvious, and you don't want to be anywhere near them. And they wonder why you're, pushing away from them and you're not trying to hold their hand. You're not trying to be close to them. And it annoys me when people don't smell good. So, and that's a big thing for not just straight couples or gay couples, everyone, just in general. You want to look and smell good on a first date. You want that person to be right there next to you, want to get closer to you. If there's a really romantic moment in a movie or something like that you're watching, you want that moment to be great where you can put your arm around them or they can put their arm around you, and you don't want to smell BO on a first date. That's not something everyone wants to smell on their first date, okay? So use deodorant and body spray, but not an excessive amount, but just enough where you smell good. Next is brush your teeth right before you go out the door. Oh my God, I went on a date once with this guy who at the very end of the night wondered why I never kissed him, but it's very obvious he never brushed his teeth for like a week before the first date. So like if you have things in your teeth, or if your breath just is horrible, I'm sorry, no one's gonna want to kiss you. And in my eyes, a perfect first date ends with a kiss, or there's a kiss somewhere along the lines of that first date. And so if you want a kiss, please, please brush your teeth. Even if you don't want to kiss on a first date, brush your teeth. It's always good to brush your teeth. Make it so that the other person is comfortable enough to be around you and smell your breath and not be absolutely horrified and want to throw up, okay? Like, just brush your teeth. That's just the standard of any date that you go on, whether it's your first date or you've been married for 40 years. Brush your teeth. Just do it, please. Next is brush your hair. Make sure your hair looks good. Just in general, that's a basic thing. Make sure that you're not coming out of bed and you just look horrible. Next is dress nice but casual. Don't dress in a suit and tie. Don't dress in sweatpants and sweatshirt, okay? I've seen both ends of the spectrum now. Don't do either. Be in the middle ground. Dress nice but casual. Like, if it's summertime, dress in a nice pair of shorts that are not just cutoffs. They don't have any holes in them or something like that. Wear a nice t-shirt. If it's the winter time or something like that, wear like maybe a nice sweater or something like that, or long jeans that don't have any holes in them again. Wear something nice but presentable. Think of it like, I don't know, Sunday church kind of clothing or something like that. Just be presentable. And I always say with like clothing and stuff like that, choose maybe like a t-shirt that's a conversation starter or something like that, where the first couple moments of a first date might be a little bit awkward at first, just because of the nature of meeting someone for the first time. No matter how much you've called or texted the person beforehand, it might still be a little bit awkward at first when you first initially meet them. And so maybe having a conversation starter t-shirt might help. Like maybe choose a t-shirt that's a Powered and Protected by Rainbows t-shirt where you can talk about the show. Or maybe choose like a t-shirt of a concert you went to recently of your favorite artist, or a vacation spot you went to with your whole family recently. Choose something like that where basically at first, if it's a really awkward moment, they can ask you, hey, oh, you went to Las Vegas or something like that. Or, oh, on a first date I went on recently that went really well, by the way. I wore a Troye Sivan Bloom tour t-shirt, and the person I was going on a date with asked me a question of, oh, you went to see Troye Sivan, like tell me all about it. And I was really happy to, and that basically got the ball rolling for us. And it's not a conversation that's meant to last all night, but at least gets that ball rolling a little bit of, let's at least start talking, and then we can build on that to something more substantial later. Next, do not be late. I don't care if you're one of those people that are normally late to everything in their entire lives. Do not be late to a first date. It sets a horrible precedent for the rest of your relationship. And basically map out your entire trip, know how many minutes it's going to take to get there, plan on arriving there at least 10 or 15 minutes earlier than what you need to be to meet the person. I always try to meet somewhere that has a public restroom so I can go in and check my hair and stuff like that and wash my hands right before that initial meetup. That way I look presentable, and that way, just in case I open the window in the car or something like that, my hair hasn't blown around, and maybe I look perfect going out the door of my house, but now that I've been in my car for a little bit and the window is open, I now don't look presentable, so I want to make sure at the last moment that I look absolutely perfect for that first date to start. And next is, if you do run late for any reason, let's say you mapped out the entire thing, but construction hit and you weren't expecting that or something like that, or there was an accident. If you're running late, please, please pull off to the side of the road, or if you're stopped in traffic, text the person that you're going to be late. Tell them that, hey, I'm running 5, 10, 15 minutes late. It doesn't matter. Just tell them that you're going to be late. If you do not tell them and you end up arriving late, they're going to blame you for that, and they're going to hold that against you. You already have one strike, and you do not know how many strikes you're allowed before you're just out. And after 5 or 10 minutes, you don't know how long that person is going to wait around for you on a first date to arrive. So maybe after 5 or 10 minutes, that person just leaves and just figures that you're a no-show. and it just will end that before it ever gets started. So text them that you're running late. Next up, actually show up to a first date. Don't be a no-show. Don't stand someone up. I honestly didn't think I needed to put that on the list, but apparently I do, because it's happened more times than I can count this year to me. Show up to the first date. If you don't want to go out with someone, tell them. Be brutally honest with them. Yes, it's still kind of a jerk move to say, no, hey, I don't want you after talking with someone for so long, but at least you're being honest with me. And it's going to hurt me to have you say that you don't want to go on a first date, but it's going to hurt me a whole lot more showing up, making all these plans, and actually going to that location and trying to meet with you and then waiting around for half an hour and you just not show up. So anything short of basically a family member of yours dying or something horrible happening where you're in an accident, I don't want to hear any excuses. Show up to the first date and actually try to enjoy it. Next up, bring money with you. You should have at least $40 in cash on you when you go onto a first date, and you should have at least one debit or credit card with some money on it. That way you can pay for things on cards as well. I'm not saying every first date should cost a ton of money. It should be this very casual thing of maybe you both walk around a mall for a couple hours, or you go for a walk, or something very simple. You should not be doing a very expensive thing like going to a theme park or a concert on a first date, because you're not going to really have that opportunity to talk to each other and get to know each other more. Whereas like on a walk or something like that around a park, you can talk to each other more. So I'm not saying a first date has to be expensive, but bring some cash with you just in case you decide to stop and get an ice cream or something like that. Whatever it happens to be, have some money on you. Basically, how it normally works is you should have at least some money on you, just so that it doesn't set a bad precedent in a relationship of, I don't want to feel like I'm going to pay for everything every single time. If you're on a date, you should at least offer. It doesn't matter if you're straight here. Basically, in a straight relationship, the guy pays for the first couple dates. Everyone kind of understands that, but the girl should at the very least offer to pay for something on their first date. That way, it sets that precedent of, I understand that I want this to be more fair. I don't want this to be one-sided where I'm just receiving everything as a gift. I want to actually pay for my own way on some things. Next up, be yourself and be a little silly on a first date. Do not be afraid to show your true self. Act how you want to act. Make a joke or two here or there. If you're like me, you kind of have a little bit of a dirty mind, so I don't mind coming up with a "that's what she said" joke or something like that on a first date, because basically if someone doesn't accept that silly side of me that likes to joke around or something, then they're probably not the right person for me. And the first date is really a time to learn about each other more and how you act in person, and just understand that basically you want to find the other person being themselves, and you want to see their silly side and how they act basically when they don't have to be so refined at work or something like that. So take the pressure off and just be a little bit silly, be a little funny, and be yourself most importantly. Next up, ask questions. Don't just talk about yourself the entire time. I went on this first date with this guy back about a month into after I came out and stuff like that, and we were together for the first date for about 4 hours, and during that 4 hours, he did nothing but talk about himself the entire time. And basically, I love learning about the other person, but at the same time, I want to know that they're interested in me and they're not just interested in talking about themselves. And I understand you could be very nervous on a first date, but don't just talk about yourself. Ask questions. Be a little intriguing. Ask them things like, what do you do for a living? What do you like most about your job? What do you like to do outside of work as a hobby? What are your goals? What are your dreams? Ask them about how they feel about politics or something like that, or a recent news story that happened. Ask them questions about anything. Ask them about their family, their friends. Maybe ask them what their living situations are. Ask them questions. Be a little bit interested in their lives. Don't just talk about yourself the entire time. Next up, don't talk about your exes too much unless you are asked specifically about them. This one's very important because you do not want to show to the other person that you are dwelling in the past relationships, or you're just basically still not over your past relationship, you want to show that you're ready for a fresh new start here and you're ready to be with them 100%. And if the other person asks you about your exes, for instance, on a first date I went on recently, the guy asked me if I can tell him some things that annoyed me in my past relationships. What were some things that my exes did that annoyed me? And that way he knew what kind of not to do in the relationship. Or maybe there was a certain nickname that I didn't want to be called or something like that. And that's perfectly fine. I want to talk about that because I don't want to necessarily be called that same nickname again. But other than that, other than if you're asked about certain aspects of your past relationships, then don't talk about them. Show the other person that you're ready for this new relationship and you're completely over your past ones. Next up, don't judge the person for their past and give them the benefit of the doubt. You would not like it if you were judged for your past and stuff like that, because I know in my past, at least, I've done some stupid things, but at least I've learned from them. And you want the other person to understand that, hey, I've learned from those mistakes and now I'm ready for something new to start, and I'm much better for my past being a part of me. I can't change history. I can only change the future. So you want to show that person that you have changed since then. And so if you've done something stupid in the past, maybe admit to it, but say, hey, I'm over that part of my life now, and I'm ready for this, and I've learned from that. But just like you wouldn't want to be judged for that, don't judge the other person. For instance, I don't necessarily believe in hookups. I absolutely hate them. I'm of the mindset that something physical is a sign of love and a sign that you love that person with your whole heart, and it's the biggest sign you can possibly give them. But I can't judge someone for doing that in the past if they've done that. I can only judge them on the future of knowing that in the future, hey, that's not a part of your life anymore and you're with me now. Next up, don't feel pressured, and please, whatever you do, do not pressure the other person to end the night together. And this one's really important because these are not tips for hookups here, okay? These are tips for a long-lasting relationship. And ending the night with a goodnight kiss or something like that and parting ways, that is the biggest sign you can give someone that you're in this for the long haul and that you truly care for them and not just for one thing. You want to show them that you're truly caring for them and you want a long-lasting relationship and you're in it for the love and not just the lust. And finally, know that you have the right to end a first date at any time, and you also have the right to not go on a second date with them. You're not pressured to do anything or continue a first date just because you're on it. Maybe you're nervous at first, so give it a chance at least. But if you're on a first date for a couple hours and you're still not feeling like it's going well or something like that, or you just feel like you don't want to be around this person anymore, then maybe it's best to speak up about it and tell the person, hey, by the way, I don't know how you feel about this, but I don't really feel like this is going anywhere and I kind of just want to go home. Tell them the truth. Be honest with the person. Honesty might hurt initially, but it is respectable first and foremost. With all of that said, I hope you guys have a great first date with whoever you're going on a first date with. I wish you the best of luck with these tips. Keep in mind, these are in no particular order. They are all very important. And hopefully in the coming weeks, we're going to be talking about some conversation starters and stuff like that. But please look online for some conversation pieces of questions that you can ask on a first date to get that conversation rolling. But if there's something that you think I missed in this video, please do leave those tips in the comments down below so that we can all learn from your past experiences as well as mine. Thank you so much for watching, and if you like this video, please hit that like button, and if you liked it a lot, then hit that subscribe button to subscribe to even more great content to come every single week. Thank you so much for watching, and see us next time here on Powered and Protected by Rainbows. Bye for now. If you want to support the show and get this awesome t-shirt in the process to show the world how you're powered and protected by rainbows as well, please use the link in the description box below or on your screen right now to get this awesome t-shirt for yourself.